This original WSRE presentation is made possible by viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to Pensacola State Today. I'm your host, Drexel Gilbert, and I'm so glad that you've joined us. On today's program, we're going to talk about the importance of Pensacola State College's business and industry partnerships and why that should matter to you. Specifically, we will talk about the Cradle to Career education effort in Escambia County, and we will talk about SkillsUSA, which impacts the lives of students from middle school through college. As we've discussed many times on Pensacola State Today, Pensacola State College is not an island unto itself, just sitting off of 9th Avenue. It is part of community. It is part of your community. And part of what makes that happen are the partnerships that Pensacola State College is involved in with business and nonprofits. And joining us in the studio to talk about that today is Dr. Ed Meadows. Thank you for being here, sir.
Well, thank you, Drexel.
So how important are these partnerships that Pensacola State College forms with the various sectors of our community? What's the purpose and what does it do?
Well, if we try to live up to our mission to provide training and education to our service area and also provide community service, we find that partnerships are the best mechanism in which to engage our students in the real world. And we have huge volunteer programs called Service Learning at the institution, where student clubs and student organization and classes and programs volunteer in the community. We have internship programs, we have work-study programs. So in order to be a part of the community, you have to be in the community.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so, and the benefit to the student is what?
Well, it's a real-life experience for the student. If they're engaged in a volunteer effort, they get to see that there are less fortunate individuals than they, mm-hmm. and they also get to see the need to be a part of the community and to participate as an active citizen. It helps them understand the dynamics of all the different levels of the socioeconomic strata. It also gives them skill sets, whether that be in improving their communication or improving their skill sets in their career.
Okay, and the benefit to the businesses that partner with Pensacola State College?
They're looking for a workforce. They're
mm-hmm.
looking for good employees. And there's no better way to find them than if you can view them before you actually hire them. That's one of the best ways to evaluate whether or not someone will be good for your company or good for your industry.
Okay, well, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we are going to talk about an exciting new partnership that literally is community-wide. Pensacola State College is a big part of it. You're going to be hearing a lot about Cradle to Career and collective impact. Our guest will join us in the studio right after this break to talk about that. Welcome back. An important partnership that Pensacola State College is involved in right now is called the Cradle to Career education effort in Escambia County. And the term collective impact is an important part of this initiative. Joining us in the studio now with Dr. Meadows and me is Stan Connally from Gulf Power and Debbie Calder from Navy Federal. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Stan, I'm going to throw it to you first. Could you please describe for us what this Cradle to Career initiative is about?
Okay. Well, thank you, Drexel. It's great to be here. Thank you for your partnership, Dr. Meadows. Cradle to Career is the Collective Impact Initiative really is intended to kind of be an umbrella structure for our community defining a vision for education. one of the things I think we're great at is having a number of programs in our community. We're sort of program rich, maybe system poor. The collective impact effort will be about defining that system for a community and getting community buy-in. And then from there, defining the outcomes we're looking for in education. And through all of that, trying to have the business community, the city and county government, the education system, and all the partners involved aligned with everything they do to support that. If you think about the things we're involved in today, we're doing a lot of great things individually as businesses and education providers, but they maybe aren't woven together in a fabric, if you will, that points us in the direction we want to go. And we think this is a unique time for us to weave all that together, and that's really what collective impact is aimed to do.
Okay. And Debbie, how are these efforts going at the moment as far as the collective impact and bringing these different sectors together for a common goal?
We've gotten tremendous support to the people that we've reached out to in the community, as Stan said, government, education, community partners, and other employers. I don't think that we've had anybody that hasn't said that they would positively support this and get behind this. So we're very excited about this.
Dr. Meadows, I know that in reading some of the material that the preparation rate for kindergartners is like what about 66% are not ready to go to kindergarten when they do, and that really tracks very closely to the high school graduation rate. So being in the education sector part of this initiative, what do you see the importance of the college being a part of this?
Well, we're on the upper end of that spectrum in terms of preparing the future workforce, and it's a lot easier to begin at the same place with a larger number of students than it is to have students with all different levels of ability, which we're very good at, but our impact, our collective impact could be much greater if we have from business and industry the standards that they require, and we can prepare the educational process in the public school systems, beginning with kindergarten and preschool, so that they know what the end goal is. And that helps us be more competitive for new jobs and new industry, new business. And for that reason, all the business and industries that these two individuals have talked with are on board with that because they understand, global competition. So as we prepare our curriculum for students, it would be much easier for us to have larger cohorts of students that have the same set of skills and are ready for the level of education that we provide.
Okay. Stan, I know that that Gulf Power is involved in other education efforts and has been. What's unique to this and what draws Gulf Power to this?
Well, you're right. We have been involved in education in a number of ways for a long time. But if we assess ourselves and the things we're involved in and just ask that question about alignment, how aligned are all the activities we're in, all the programs that we participate in? I think we kind of had a bit of a self-discovery that we could be far more aligned even with the ones we're participating in. But then being able to partner with other businesses, other leaders in the community, Debbie and other businesses like Sacred Heart Hospital or Baptist Hospital, and collectively assessing everything that we're engaged in and making sure that all of those activities are aligned toward the same or very, very similar outcomes. That's really where our interest lies, is making sure that as a community, not only for Gulf Power Company, but for the community as a whole, that alignment's there. I think we'll be far more efficient and far more effective delivering students at every stage of that cradle to career transition, all the transition points. And I have no doubt we're going to raise the bar at every transition point.
So we go from the cradle to the career. Debbie, I'll go back to you now. How important on the career side of it? It's important because by this initiative can increase the workforce, the qualified, educated workforce. But Navy Federal's involvement in this leads to what?
Well, our involvement is to sustain that great talent that we are seeing today. And when we grow to 10,000 people, our average turnover will be about 1,000 to 1,500 people a year that we will need to come work at Navy Federal. So when we started talking to Gulf Power and Sacred Heart and Baptist, the leaders there, we all kind of understood that there might be an issue down the road when you look at what's happening in education right now, the 66% readiness of kindergartners compared to the 66% graduation rate. There's definitely a correlation there. We understand that. But is this community going to be able to sustain us? It will be very hard for us to grow to 10,000 if we start seeing gaps in the talent that we need to sustain us as a workforce.
Okay. And at the college, at Pensacola State College, this collective impact, this collaborative effort that of course there's a difference between the collaboration and this collective impact, and we're talking more of a focused impact with all of these different sectors. But talk to me some more about the college's involvement here and how this is beneficial to the community and your students.
Well, we have a very large dual enrollment program that is primarily aimed at university transfer, but part of that dual enrollment is also vocational and technical in nature, and we're hoping to grow that segment of dual enrollment. If you're looking at a scenario of the demographics of our students today, 61% are women. A lot of those are single household. Those are the non-traditional side, but we have a very large segment of traditional age students. And if we can educate the parents and those children about all of the different kinds of opportunities today and in the future in our community that require the associate degree or a certification in a particular skill set, and the benefits and the career ladders that are associated with that, particularly with Navy Federal and other larger companies in the healthcare industry as well, then we'll see a larger segment of our students preparing earlier for those career tracks instead of thinking that they're in a vacuum in the high school and not thinking about what comes after high school or what comes after middle school. So what we're dealing with today is approximately half of our students are students that have either completed high school a number of years ago or did not complete it. They're in the workforce and they're underemployed. So we're dealing with a lot of people coming back to us. And some of those are actually educated with baccalaureate degrees, but it's not a particular skill set that they have that provides an opportunity to get a job in this community in which they wish to live. And 98% of our students stay in our service area. So what this does, it moves everything forward if we work together with a collective impact so that people get to where they need to be quicker in terms of their careers.
Okay. Stan, there have been a lot of education efforts in the past in Escambia County, many of them successful, some maybe not as successful as had been hoped. Let's elaborate a little bit about what is unique about this effort. Why, and it has shown success in other places, correct?
It has, yeah. We're working with a group, Strive Together, that has had some success all across the country. And look, I think we need to build on the successes we already have here in Escambia County as we springboard forward. What makes this unique, I think, is really several points. First is it's focusing on pretty key transition points in that cradle to career conversation. Kindergarten readiness, middle school readiness, high school readiness, college and career readiness, and focusing on what those metrics are at those transition points and what we can do to impact those metrics. I think measuring the outcomes is really important. We've got a great scorecard we talk about in our community, the Studer Institute helps provide. I think growing that conversation and as a community having a common language and common expectations, frankly, around those outcomes is something that maybe that we haven't done before. And then lastly, this whole notion of complete community engagement. Part of the effort following our January 6th meeting is that we want to engage the community as a whole with a community planning effort so that everyone's bought in and knows where we're going. And then at the end of the day, this alignment that I referenced earlier, this woven fabric of all the efforts really does lead to those right outcomes and measures. And so I think that makes it unique for our community. But again, I think we build on our successes and we just keep growing.
Okay, and Debbie, we keep hearing community, so I want to hear from you, your take on the importance of getting the entire community. And what do we really mean by that? When we say entire community, define, please.
Well, you know, simply, it takes a village for you to have something like this, put something like this collective impact in place. It's going to take all of us beating to the same drum. And community is everything. It's government, it is educators, it's the faith-based groups. They are involved in this conversation as well. They're a very important part of this for us. It is the businesses, not just Navy Federal, Baptist, Gulf Power and Sacred Heart, but it is all the businesses in this community, and us understanding the importance of aligning our goals and working towards the same goals. As Stan pointed out, we're very program rich, but it is true we're system poor. We have a lot of arrows going in a lot of different directions, and we need to have a few arrows going in the same direction and all of us getting behind that. I think this will make this community stronger. One thing I've known since I've been in Pensacola is how much people who live here love this community, and they want to help each other, and I think that's the foundation for our success, and I'm really excited about moving forward with this.
Okay, so moving forward, Stan, what are the next steps?
So this spring we want to have a community-wide forum. Our planning retreat points us in the direction of a vision for the community. It points us towards some governance around how we want to approach this long term. But the next step is to get the full community engaged. And it includes parents, it should include educators, teachers, school administrators, anyone that wants to be involved in this. Nonprofits need to be at the table with us because they're providing such wonderful programmatic elements of this conversation. I think it's, once again, growing the audience of participants. And so this spring we hope to have a community-wide forum where we invite all of those participants I just mentioned to the table, and we decide to lock arms and move forward and focus on the few arrows, as Debbie pointed to. And we just, we need to remember this is a long-term effort. We won't make a difference in a few months. This is about making a difference for the long run for Escambia County. We'll need to find some early wins. I'm confident in that. I'm sure we will too. But we need to keep the vision on the long-term horizon. And I think that will take a great deal of cooperation among everyone in Escambia County.
And a lot of vision, which we have a lot of vision sitting at this table, folks, in case you haven't picked up on that yet. Dr. Meadows, any final words before we end this segment on Pensacola State College's involvement with this?
Well, I think we realize, as both Debbie and Stan have said, that we're program rich with a lot of people working independent of each other to help our community and to promote education. So the thing that I hope is that even if we can't bring everybody together moving in the same direction, if we can educate the community as a whole of what we're trying to achieve in terms of some common measures, so that when those independent faith groups or when the nonprofits that are working with special populations, if they know there's a target out there and they know what the target is, then they can develop their program to align with that. Mm-hmm. And although they may not be a part of the main spearhead, you know, if you look at, you know, a battle that you're in, and if you have the archers, you know, and you've seen this, I guess, in movies, but you know, you get this great wave of arrows coming in, and there seems to be a pattern there. Well, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for all of these agencies, organizations, and entities to get within the pattern that can be developed through the collective impact, so that we actually know where we're headed and what kind of timeline we're on.
Okay. So we can expect to hear the terms cradle to career and collective impact a lot in the future, and it's going to be, as everyone at the table has said, a community effort, and we want everyone involved in that. Thank you so much for being with us today, and we hope to have you back as we move along with this effort. All right, and we'll take a break and be right back. Welcome back to Pensacola State Today. On this program, we are exploring the benefits of community and business partnerships with Pensacola State College and how they make exciting things happen in our community. Joining us now in the studio are Jennifer Grove from Gulf Power and Jennifer Ponson from Pensacola State College and also SkillsUSA. And then they have come to the studio now to join Dr. Meadows and I for this part of today's program. Before we talk about the partnership, Jennifer Ponson, let's talk to you first about what is SkillsUSA?
Well, SkillsUSA is a national organization, and it partners with business, industry, educators, and students to make sure that we have a skilled workforce. The SkillsUSA program is, we have this every day in our classroom when we're working on our skills, whether it's soft skills or hard skills within various different career and technical education. We work with the business partners to bring in the most current technology that's available to our students so that they are able to find individuals to come out and work within their business.
Okay. And Dr. Meadows, one of the major partners in the SkillsUSA initiative with Pensacola State College is Gulf Power. Let's talk about how that partnership and the partnership with other industries and educators, as Jennifer said, makes SkillsUSA happen and what the benefit is to the community and to the participants.
Well, of course, Jennifer Grove will speak more to the mission of Gulf Power on a lot of different fronts in addition to providing electrical power, but the Gulf Power relationship with Pensacola State has been one that started at the very beginning when we were looking at SkillsUSA from the student competition side. And that adds a nuance to SkillsUSA when you have skills competitions because it highlights the best and the brightest in a lot of different areas that include the communication skills and as well as the technical skills. But Gulf Power has partnered with Pensacola State in its bid for the state conference, which we hosted for 3 years. And had we not had Gulf Power with us as a partner that had all of the connections to a multitude of industry and business in the region, we would not have had the groundswell of support that we got from the local community to participate in these competitions. So it's been a great partnership. We are also vying for the next 3 years, year after next, to bring it back to Pensacola.
Okay. All right, let's go to Jennifer Grove now. And Jennifer, Gulf Power has a lot of balls in the air and does a lot. Why take on this type of a partnership, and what does Gulf Power see as the benefit?
We are thrilled to be partners with PSC and SkillsUSA. You know, as the largest student organization in the country, SkillsUSA does provide, I think, a unique blend of opportunities for students. Both curriculum, as Jennifer mentioned, that is focused in on technical skill development in a variety of industries, as well as the 21st century employability skills development. So skills around work ethic, presentation skills, small group communications, and lots of skills that really often are seen lacking in candidates who come to the workplace. We wanted to become involved because as a company, we are very interested in promoting technical careers as option A careers for folks. These careers, many of which are in our industry, in the energy industry, whether it's in our power plants or on our distribution side, or in some of our larger customer industries, whether that's healthcare or manufacturing facilities. Many of these high-skill, high-wage careers really require very specific technical certifications to enter and advance. And over the years in our country, those education pathways have not been valued as much as a traditional baccalaureate education pathway. We viewed an opportunity to connect with PSC and really promote SkillsUSA and the careers that students can enter after succeeding within SkillsUSA, both through the curriculum and the competition side. As Dr. Meadows mentioned, we viewed that as a great opportunity for our community to really rally around these critical careers in our industry and the others in our economy locally, as well as to give these students the attention that they deserve for going above and beyond what the minimum requirement in education is to pursue these skills at such a high level.
Okay, now Jennifer Ponson, let's talk to you because you deal with the SkillsUSA every day. How important are these business relationships and community relationships that you have in making SkillsUSA a reality?
Well, without the business relationships, our students don't know what skills that are available to them in the workplace. So we have our curriculum that they go through, but we always have current updates and things that these students have to learn. But it gives them an opportunity not only to network with business and industry partners as they come out to judge some of our competitions, but gives them a heads up on showcasing their hard skills that they have through the competitions to possibly be hired by the business and industry.
Okay, and Dr. Meadows, again, the idea for this entire program that we're doing today is the importance of the college being part of community with the businesses and the industry and the community agencies. And how does that benefit the community, the college, and the students?
Well, if you start with the student first, Pensacola State College, its network with business and industry allows us to help the students see the real world in terms of the work context that they will be doing as a career. And, you know, the skills taught in isolation are not the best way to do things. And so when you have internships and when you have work-study programs and when you have opportunities for students to engage in the real world of work with the skills that they're learning in the classroom and the lab, it makes them a much better employee in the future. It also gives the industries need us as much as we need them because we are the pipeline that provides those skilled workers to a lot of these industries. And so the industries know the importance of partnering. And the good thing about GovPower is they have an entire arm that is economic development, and this is critical to have an entity like GovPower involved that can bring together the resources that we need, both financial and the personnel and the environment, the work environment that we need for the students to be in before they're actually employed full-time and before they actually decide where they're going to stop and enter the workforce. And a lot of our programs have stackable certifications, and it allows students to actually begin work at a certain level while they're continuing their education. And we have a lot of part-time students that start full-time with us and get a certain level of expertise and are attracted to a particular industry that will hire them on an internship basis or on a part-time basis, and it allows them some financial stability so that they don't have a lot of student debt when they do finish that terminal degree, as we kind of call it, you know, whether that be a certification, an associate degree, or a baccalaureate degree.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being with us today, Dr. Meadows and Jennifer Ponson and Jennifer Grove. We appreciate your time, and we certainly appreciate the partnership and the collaborative community effort. That's going to do it for this edition of Pensacola State Today. We're so glad that you joined us. I'm your host, Drexel Gilbert, and we'll see you next time.